Today, I'm going to show you how to do custom tools in neuro-san. Let's get started. So to do custom tool in neuro-san, you must define your tools in two places. The first one in your agent network or your HOCON file. The second place is in Python file. That's where the actual tool is going to be. So let's get started with the agent network or HOCON file first. So first, we must define the functions in the agent network. That means we need a field or function block and a class that refers to the Python class. Also, in the function, we need description, which is tell the LLM when and how to use the tool. Also, we need parameters, which will tell the LLM what parameter input that it needs to provide to the tools. And the class, this will point to the Python class. It has to be in the format of module.class name. And this is optional, but the users can specify args to implement or supplement to the input or override the input that the LLM provide. So let's look a little bit more in the schema of a parameter. Parameter types can have the following data types, which is string, which is a text, integer, float can be any number, boolean, array, object. So a little bit more on that is that if you put array as a type, you need to include items, which will tell the LLM what is the element type gonna be, is it string, int, or float. And if you put objects as a type, you must specify properties, which is the key and value of dictionary. The top level parameters is always a dictionary. That means the type is always object. So in the parameters, you need to say the type, which is object, the properties, which will be the dictionary, key will be the name of the arguments, and values will be the type of the arguments and the description of the argument. Finally, we have required, which means which argument is required. This is the example of how you do it in the HOCON file. You can see here, this is the name of the agent, or in this case, the name of the tool, which is tool1. It is a tool, so it has a function. Then the function must have the description to tell how and when to use the tool. Then it has parameters, which will be the input parameters of this function. Of course, it's the type object because it's dictionary. And then it will have, in this case, just one argument, which is argument 1, arg1 here, which is type string. And this is the description of telling you the LLM what is the argument is or how to use it. And since we only have one, in the required is list of just arg1. And in this case, the user specify another argument called arg2. So we have arg1 and arg2. Arg1 is LLM will provide, arg2 is user will provide. And we point to the class here with field class. Okay, so now we specify the tools inside the HOCON file. The next step is to define the tool with Python. So to define the tool in Python, in neuro-san, we call it coded tool. Basically, you have to subclass the coded tool and then implement the method invoke or async invoke. But neuro-san will prefer the async invoke first, but then fall back to invoke if you don't provide the method async invoke. So this is example how you do it. You subclass the coded tool, you define the method async invoke, and then you can get the argument or parameters from parameter args here. So you can get like args1 and args2 with the get method from dictionary args. The last thing we need to talk about is where the tool going to be. So we have to set the tool path using the environment variable called agent tool path. If agent2 path is not set, then it will fall back to the default, which is the coded tools folder inside the neuro-san repo. Then after that, you need to put the module inside a folder, which names must be the same as the HOCON file without the .HOCON extension. And note that this tool can be used only inside this network only. It won't be available to any other network except the one that you name as a folder. Thank you.